Hey Rob, good to be back.
Hey, well, likewise, Jim. Hi.
I was going over our YouTube channel and we have some interesting comments in there I thought I would share with you. Maybe some of them you can answer right away directly. Maybe some of them you don't know the answers.
I hope
Some of
so.
them
I'll do
are
my
are
best.
are, are funny. Some of them are have to probably be edited for language. This is like a rated G channel, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
some people aren't happy with certain countries anymore and they don't want Americans there.
Oh, I see. You have people that are already there. Yes.
People that are already there, yeah. Stay. They're saying stay where you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
We came over. Now you stay there.
Okay. So this one comes from Frank Flex 4465. This is 5 days ago. Frank says, I'm retiring to Spain in the new year from Canada and want to bring my truck. Can you help me with the paperwork because it has to be in Spanish? I never even thought of that. You're going to Spain. It has to be in Spanish. I guess that makes sense, right?
Absolutely. Then you're moving to Mexico, you have to fill out. You have to fill out the mensaje de casa in
Yeah.
Spanish. Yes, it's always going to be the native language. The destination native. And so, yeah, we can help with that. We have Spanish speakers in the office, of course, and
Yeah.
we do everything we can to help people out. But ultimately, typically, a lot of those forms are going to have to be by rule filled out and signed by, the person who is moving, right? But we
Yeah.
can definitely help. It's pretty basic, the things that are necessary in order to clear customs in Spain.
I just had a thought about that. I don't speak Spanish. Do you speak Spanish?
A little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I
so
barely
so
speak English.
suppose like well, all right. Suppose somebody like myself, I'm moving to Spain, and the paperwork's in Spanish. Would they provide me with like an English copy? I mean, how do I even know what I'm signing? Or would somebody have to explain it to me?
Well, so for example, in Spain, it's the consignment of baggage. Transfer baggage is the form. In Mexico, it's mensaje de casa. It's basically talking about inventory lists, and it has to be in Spanish.
I see.
Um, yeah, well, the client will just have to write in what they're moving, or and nice thing about technology today is that I can go into Chat GPT or Gemini or one of the AI or just Google, I think, and simply type in what I'm moving and it'll come up in Spanish.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Here's another person talking about moving to the Netherlands,
Yeah.
but they said, do not move to Holland. I am from Holland, and many people want to leave Holland to another country. We now live in Spain. Many tax, many rules, more and more illegals. I guess she's talking about lots of taxes in Holland.
Yeah.
And yeah, now they moved to Spain. Spain's super popular, isn't it?
Spain's super popular, as is a lot of countries. Italy's very popular. Spain is huge. Portugal is huge.
Yeah.
France is huge. But we move a lot of people to the Netherlands as well. And so I mean, the Netherlands is somewhat expensive, but it's always rated like the best place to live in all of Europe.
Yeah.
It's just everyone loves it, highest quality of life, happiest people, and yeah, it's expensive. So is all of Europe,
Yeah.
for most of Europe anyway. And their taxes are kind of high, right? So if you're making money, they're going to pay more money, but then you get services and benefits for your money. It's not like it just disappears. So
Yeah.
it's pretty well liked, quite frankly. So I don't know. I've never lived there.
Yeah.
Uh, but both places are very popular, Spain and the Netherlands or Holland.
Yeah. And Portugal. So I guess what it comes down to is, I mean, we could look at the United States and say, um, your experience will be different if you live in a city as opposed to living outside of a city in a more rural or suburb type area. Most of the unrest that we see in the news happens usually in city areas, right?
Yeah, and it's nothing like over here in the United States. I mean, we've got we talk about some challenges. We've got them.
Yeah.
The expenses have gone crazy too. To try living in California. I mean,
Yeah.
good luck. A lot of the clients that I talk to, we discuss this sometimes, we kind of get off topic of the actual nuts and bolts and gears and cogs of the move and just talk about things.
Yeah.
And, one thing that comes up quite often is I was speaking with a couple retiring and moving to France. And the reason for doing it, sometimes I ask, well, why? Is it family? Is it a job? Is it whatever? They said, quite frankly, it's a lot less expensive.
Hmm.
Less expensive in France? You just don't think that, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, now if you live in central Paris, you
Yeah.
know, District 4 or something, yeah, it's going to be real expensive. But if you're not there, you're not in Nice, and you're not in Paris or a number of other cities, you're just somewhere else very, very nice. I'm not talking in the woods or anything. He
Yeah.
said much less expensive. The property taxes are virtually nothing.
Hmm.
And you can buy a house for much less than a lot of cities in the United States per square foot
Good
or per
point.
square meter. And I thought that's interesting. And I've heard that many times. Heard that many times, not just France, but
Yeah.
many places. Again, if you're in the central, you're in Paris, at The Hague, you're in right in Rome. Yeah, it can be expensive, but
Yeah.
you don't have to be there. People move for the money for the reduced cost of living.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because if you're paying a lot of money, it feels like, and you're living in a city, like you're living in LA, living in Sarasota, Florida, it feels like everything is just out of control. However, when you talk to people who live in different townships,
Yeah,
in this,
yeah,
in maybe even an expensive state, you find out they're paying a lot less,
right,
so
right.
it a lot comes down to, yeah, the actual location that they're going to.
That's right.
Now, here's somebody that just says, Europe is crowded and boring. No thanks. Well, that's from Dentalis 4064. Interesting.
All right.
Oh, here's somebody,
Everyone,
Christine.
yeah.
Here's an SDC, one of your customers, clients. Christina says that, can I use plastic bins to store and ship my stuff?
Okay. Yeah. Sort of the Rubbermaid or insert brand here, where you have the lid that kind of snaps down. They generally speaking, especially the Rubbermaid and ones you get
Yeah.
at Costco or Home Depot, they're really durable. They're really versatile. Yeah, you can absolutely use those. It's not a problem anywhere in the world that I've ever experienced. The same rules apply. That sounds like someone who's using their own boxes, therefore they're doing their own packing of boxes. It's self-packed stuff. Do it the right way and ask for advice from us. Go online, look at some YouTubes on the best ways to pack certain things, make sure it's done right, and then label the boxes appropriately. Box number one is kitchen. It doesn't have to be very granular for almost most countries. That'll be on an inventory list if they
Yeah.
require clarity. Yeah, box number one is kitchenware. Box number two is shoes, and sometimes it needs to be in a different language, but or both languages, sometimes English and Spanish, because it's in a clear customs here on the outbound, and then in Spain it's going to be received in clear customs, so that it has to be in Spanish. But yeah, those are perfectly fine. Do it all the time. The only slight, very very small downside to using those is a box is generally speaking 90-degree angles, so you
Mm,
could put them together and minimize the gaps.
I got
Those
you.
typically aren't exactly 90. There's sometimes a little bit like this, and so you're going to have a little bit more air, but that's a real small thing.
Right, right. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? I sometimes like, okay, I know the answer to this question. I love my Honda. Um, I want to bring my Honda from the Philippines to the US. Is this possible?
I don't see
Um,
why not.
yeah. Matter of fact,
Motorcycle
I've
or car?
looks like it's a car. Oh no, I'm sorry. It is a motorcycle. Yeah.
Well,
So
as long as it meets all of the requirements here. So, for
right.
example, if it was a car, you can bring it. I can't think of any reason why you couldn't bring it. It's just a matter of, can it be registered? Does it meet all the requirements for registration here
Yeah.
in operation on the street? Now, that's an interesting one, because moving a vehicle from here to the Philippines is quite
Mm,
challenging. It's quite
yeah.
challenging because they're going to tax it like you've never thought of before, unless you're a diplomat. But going there to here, I can't think of too many challenges off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Rob, what are some of the questions that you seem to get over and over? There's certain ones that you would say this is the most asked question that people have.
Oh gosh, that would include, tell me about insurance. Let's talk about insurance. Tell me about, can I use the tubs that we just talked about? That
Yeah,
comes up all the time. Can I use tubs? Of course. Um, those are the big ones. I mean, pretty much everything is equal. I try to explain the process that,
yeah,
just moving from where New York, Miami, Dallas, Seattle, LA to London, England. It's not, sometimes people kind of get the feeling it's just, well, here it is and there it is. It's
yeah,
just this one smooth thing. And it is, but it's our job. And what we do is kind of marry together all the components because it's not one thing.
yeah,
There's the pickup. It could be the packing. So we handle the packing. It could be crating, it could be disassembly of pool tables, and statues if that applies. So all of that has to come into play. Then it has to be picked up. It has to somehow get itself into a container, whether
yeah,
it's a shared container or an exclusive container. That container's got to make its way to the port. So that's now a trucking or drayage company. We have to get the booking on the ocean vessel, get it over. We have to clear customs and then get it from the port to the door. That could sometimes be in the container. Sometimes it would have to be offloaded and transferred separately. So it's all those pieces come together. So I like to kind of answer your question, explain. Sometimes they ask, sometimes they don't, but I'll try to explain that this is not just one smooth thing.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
series of things that we put together and make it smooth and seamless, like it's one transaction for the client as much as
yeah.
possible.
I was curious. Most of the people that you talk to, is this their first international move that they've ever done in their life?
If I had to put a percent on it, I get this feeling that it's in the, yeah, I would say 70, at least two-thirds, 70, 80%. I think this is their first international move. Maybe one-third or less than that, maybe 20%. It seems to me, just my feel.
Yeah,
Those are people that have, have moved around the world for whatever reason. Very often it's for work. I used to live in
yeah,
Dubai and then I was in Berlin and now I'm in Seattle and now I'm moving to Paris. You
that
know,
makes sense. Yeah,
internationally for work. That happens quite a bit. But there's just some people that have multiple homes and they spend 10 years here and 10 years there, that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. So then that makes sense why they would ask about insurance and things like that. You want to get the bottom line on the price, how much it's going to cost for the total move. So it's not just the
Yes.
moving, it would be the insurance. Are there any other costs that people wonder about, or does the moving cost and the insurance, does that basically cover it?
Okay, so that's a good point. So, and we've covered this in the past is, clients don't want surprise charges. And that's a question that comes up. That's a good point. That comes up all the time. What other costs are you not telling me about? The surprise costs? Some companies will just, from what I hear, potentially just give a low price and then, but now I need this, and this. So,
Yeah.
like I said, it's when you check into a hotel in some places,
Or buy
you
a
thought it
car.
was you thought it was $150 a night, and suddenly it's
Yeah.
350. You go, what? Um, but yeah, so when at STC, when we quote someone, we're going to say this is our estimated quote. This is the cost of the move. If it's
Yeah.
door to door, from door to door, and it includes all of these things, what we discussed. Maybe it's full packing service, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a billiards table, maybe it's some crating, or maybe it's not. But based on what we know, we're agreeing that this is the service you want, and these are an inventory or a list of your items or a volume that's going to be occupied. Some clients just say, "Look, I want a 40-foot container." Okay, we'll see. This is included. These things are not included. So if you didn't tell me that I have to park 4 miles down the road to get things to your house, there's going to be a shuttle involved. We don't know anything about that. Yeah, that's going to be one of these extra charges. But
Mm.
as long as we knew about it, it's going to be included in the quote. There are some additional things, sometimes, not always. Destination terminal handling charges. That's just the charge that for handling the shipment at the destination. We don't impose that. That's coming from third party. And they invoice us, we pay it. But what we do on the quote, there'll be a line. This is how much it is. This does not include destination terminal handling charges, which we estimate to be because we
I
know what
got
it is in every country.
Yeah.
250 to $300. In South America, it's more,
Yeah.
significantly more. So if it's not, if it's an extra charge above and beyond the quote, if we know about it, we're going to put it below that line and say this is an estimation of DTHC. If that applies, it doesn't always apply. And there's maybe something else, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Beyond that, there really shouldn't be, provided we know everything,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
then there really shouldn't be those surprise charges. That said, if it's something I didn't know, like I said, with the shuttle 4 miles down the road,
Yeah.
or show up and you had a billiard table, but you didn't tell me there was ever a billiard table.
Yeah. That's I,
Well, guess what?
yeah, I guess that's why it's good to talk to somebody, like yourself who has experience because you know the questions to ask.
Hmm.
And hopefully the people on the other end do their due diligence and know the things to tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm on the third floor, way in the back of, and there's only
And
one way there.
I ask that question every time. The things that I go over, I'm trying to determine the volume. So I want
Yeah,
to know how much. I want to know what the client would like in terms of packing those boxes.
yeah,
Self-pack, which is fine, or professionally pack. Insurance comes into play there, though.
yeah,
Uh, I'm going to find out, I'm going to gauge whether there's anything that's special or delicate. So that's beyond just boxing. It could be, like I said, a statue, very fine art, pool table, pinball table, grandfather clock, that sort of thing. A big curio cabinet that has a glass front. I'm going to do certain extra things for those items. So I'm going to try to understand that piece. And then I'm going to ask about access. Two pieces: origination access, elevator, stairs. Am I going to have to use a crane to lift something through or out the window? That
yeah.
sometimes comes into play if it's really big and it won't fit in any
Pianos.
elevator. Sometimes I'm gonna understand all of that, origination and at destination. Very often the destination is not known. We don't have a house yet, and we know that there's going to
Mm,
be a lead time, so we'll work that out at the end. But we just make them aware that there are certain elements there.
yeah,
Um, those are things that I want to understand. Once I've got all of that, then we can quote appropriately.
yeah. One last question to do with this, and we'll wrap it up. Should I put a little extra aside? So if let's say my budget is 15,000, I've got, a nice size house. I'm going to move everything over. The whole family's going, and there's an estimate on how much that some of these fees are going to be. If the final bill comes to $15,125, is that's considered reasonable? A little bit over?
Well, it depends. It depends. It from my standpoint, it should be pretty dead on.
Yeah,
Again, as long as I really understand everything that you're doing, it's the quote, not really an estimate. It's a quote, and
yeah.
this quote is good for this level of this service.
I got you.
Uh, as long as there's nothing extra,
Then
and
you're
there's not
there.
something that could be, out of our control. For example, the bridge collapsed in Baltimore, and there's delays, huge, massive
Yeah,
delays. We have no control over that, and that almost never happens, but you know, that
yeah,
could cost. There's something suspicious. And for whatever reason, customs on the other side wants to pull the container aside or the shipment aside and inspect it.
yeah,
No control over that. None at all. And
yeah.
so again, super, super, super rare. But and that's going to be in the not included in this quote. Those are going to be in there. So
Right, right.
to just make it very clear to everyone, we want to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah. So, Rob, if somebody wants to reach out to you, we'll put your
I'm
number
here.
there on the screen. You always answer the phone if you're around, right?
That's the rule. If I can pick it up, I do. Sometimes I can't, but usually I can.
Great. All right, Rob. Love the information as always. I'll catch up with you then in the next video.
Until next time.
All right.